Inter Milan are out. For more on this, let's welcome in Frank Leboeuf, but we've got to start with a former Inter man. Jurgen Klinsmann is with us. Jurgen, how embarrassing is this for a side, let's not forget, who are 10 points clear at the top of Serie A?
I think it's hugely embarrassing for every Italian football fan, obviously, not only for an Inter fan, because the other clubs, they're struggling the same way at the moment in the Champions League or in European football. So there are so many questions now being discussed in Italy, in Italian football, from all the experts there. How can this happen? How can you lose to a team that it made itself its name over the last two and a half years? Bodo Glimt, obviously in the Conference League, then in the Europa League, they went to the semi-final, and then they beat some big names, and they were outstanding today. I mean, they deserve the biggest compliments. Absolutely, I mean, huge compliments. But for a club like Inter, this is really a catastrophe. This is a moment where they have to reflect, what is going on, what they're doing. They have to question every little piece that they're doing. The team was never really convinced of being able to turn it around tonight. I mean, the stadium was sold out. The atmosphere was brilliant, but they never created, clean chances. It was all half chances that they created. Yes, they could have scored maybe here and there by one of these half chances, but they could never kind of step up rhythm-wise. They could never go to another gear, and this is what you need if you have to come back in a European competition. You 2 goals down, you have to go off in a far higher gear and keep the rhythm so high that sooner or later the other team will break down. And we're talking about Bodo Glimt that is in off-season, as I said last week. They haven't even started yet their Norwegian championship. So you have to tire them out. You have to be on their toes from the first second on. But Inter was not capable to go into a higher gear. And so the question really is here, what is going on with Italian football in general? The national team was blown out by Norway in the World Cup qualifying. They have now to go into 2 more qualifying games at the end of March. And the club teams like Juventus lost against Galatasaray. They have their game tomorrow. Atalanta, the same thing. But what we saw tonight from Inter was there was not the Inter that you would imagine you could see, an Inter team that is dominating you, can go different rhythms, can go different speeds, has players on the field that can make a difference in a split second. There was not even one player on the field that gave you the feeling that he can turn it around with, I don't know, a surprise shot, a surprise dribbling. You had almost no players that could go 1 against 1 and create something different. I mean, they hammered in the box, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 crosses, and they have these half chances by headers then of their forwards up there. But that's it. That's it. And this is not good enough. So it's at the end of the day, it's a lack of quality that we would never ever expect from a club like Inter Milan. So it's going to be some rough nights coming up for the entire club, for the fans, for the players especially. And that, even if you are 10 points ahead in the Italian Championship ahead of AC Milan, and you pretty much won the championship already. But this was very, very disappointing.
Straight home for the Inter players tonight, I would imagine.
Yes, I wouldn't imagine you'd venture out at all. Not just tonight, by the way.
I would imagine you sort of swan about the San Siro corporate areas for quite a while to let the fans disperse, because I'm sure there'll be quite a few fans waiting on them. Look, Norwegian football, with 1 or 2 of the teams like Bodo Glimt and the national team, is flourishing at the moment. And Italian football, in a sense, the Italian national team and now this is floundering. There's no doubt that Inter have regressed. Maybe we could say the same about Napoli and 1 or 2 others. But they have regressed. We talked about this with Jurgen a few weeks ago, about the ageing squad that Inter have, about some of the players that they lost. And I think also it's now looking like Simone Inzaghi did a really good job in the organisation of this squad, of utilising the roster and getting to the Champions League final last year. I know they were a little stronger. I know they got walloped in the end by PSG, who were brilliant. But I think it just shows that Inzaghi made a big difference to the organisation and the tempo and the counter-attack and the defending of this team. And that's been a struggle for them. And they've regressed. They might be top of the Italian Serie A, but they've regressed. And they gave Bodo Glimt a glimmer of hope in both games, and they absolutely snatched it. They were brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, they were absolutely... I said this, we were talking about during the game, we've got these two huge clubs in Scotland, Celtic and Rangers, right? They call themselves two of the biggest clubs in Europe, and I suppose in some sense the size and that they are. But they've got much bigger budgets than the likes of Bodo Glimt and one or two others have, but yet... And Stevie said to me, well, it's a cycle, isn't it? They've just managed to have these really good players at one time. And maybe that's the case, like Rosenborg and a few others from smaller countries like Norway have done over the piece. But this is actually, it's not a fluke. They're a very good team.
Yep.
You know, and I get it, they've got a hybrid pitch in Norway and all that, it's difficult to play, but there's not a hybrid pitch in the San Siro, and they played there. They've beaten some other good teams like Atleti, like Dortmund, who was the other one? Man City, they beat. And by the way, that game wasn't a fluke. So yeah, they've been really good. I mean, what a shot in the arm for Norwegian football. But for Italian football, I'm sorry, you know, it is just not the quality that it once was. And although they got to the final last year, I think that was a big tipping of the cap to the manager Inzaghi, who's no longer there. He's in Saudi Arabia. And they've been found wanting this year. That's the honest truth.
Frank, it's interesting, isn't it? We talk, Craig mentioned Celtic Rangers. You can also mention quite a few teams in the Premier League. Bit robotic, yes. Not really entertaining to watch. Yet, Bodo Glimt not only are getting it done, they're getting it done whilst entertaining us.
Exactly. And yes, we can criticize Inter Milan, but you have firstly to talk about Bodo Glimt. But everything I saw today, even when they were under pressure, they were fighting, working all together. They knew what they had to do when they got the ball back. They were going forward. They were 4-5 to go forward. They believed that they could do something. It was amazing to see the spirit, the organization of that team, and all credit goes to the coach and the willingness of the players as well. But even if they had like maybe 30 shots from Inter Milan, I never thought that Bodo Glimt were in danger, and they could punish them. And it happened what I felt, that they were able to finish the action and do the job. The second goal is simply amazing. The assist, the control, the pass. It's world class. Only world class players can do that. But I'm very impressed. I sent a text to Jan to say Bodo Glimt is the best team in the world. And he sent me a heart back. But it's really what it is. I mean, we are impressed, but it's not. It's a fairy tale, but it's not a surprise anymore. For me, it's not a surprise after what we've seen. And Craig mentioned the team that they already beat. And we cannot say it's only at home with the AstroTurf. No, it's everywhere. They do the job. They're very well organized. I'm very impressed with that team. Not that much by Inter.
Have they set a blueprint, Stevie, as how other teams on this sort of budget should approach these sort of games, or is this like an anomaly?
No, I don't think it's not a blueprint that nobody else knows about. It's just having a group of players at the right time. Craig was talking about it earlier. Having a group of players at the right time is a really good mix. They're all in tune with each other. They clearly know each other's game inside out. And when they do get the ball, they go at pace, and the movement's fantastic. You know, the guy on the ball, and you see them streaming forward, there's always 2 and 3 passes, but it's at pace. It's 1 and 2 touch. And then, of course, when you can finish the way they did, and you showed it again tonight, then it's a real handful. But no, teams like that are going to go about it exactly the way they did. Other teams of their size just don't have the quality. I'd have to say the one thing that really surprised me, though, was the way Inter went about it. I sit here week after week complaining that there's not enough balls put in the box in the Premier League. Holy smoke. This was like an English First Division team in the 1980s, where all they did was whip balls in. You've got to be able to mix it up. You know, when you're playing against a side who have got plenty of bodies in and around the box, it's great for them because all they've got to do is challenge. And they showed today that you don't have to win the header. As long as you put a solid challenge in, you put somebody off, which they did, because Inter had a few headers, but none of them really troubled the goalkeeper. Look. So they had no football players in their team. Look at that midfield. There's nobody there that's going to pick a pass or play little 1-2s or do something clever. They never looked like scoring. And the fact that they did score came as a bit of a shock.
Yeah. This game was kind of a mirror image of the game that I think Jurgen mentioned was the Norway game in the San Siro against Italy. OK, Italy were chasing their tail, they had to win, but so were Inter tonight. And although the Norwegian national team is picking some players that are playing in the Bundesliga and the Premier League and others, there's still a bulk of them from the Norwegian league. And it kind of was the same, except the national team pulled it off much easier. They allowed the Italians to get onto them. And then as the game wore on, they just started to pick them off as the national team got frustrated. And I think it's very similar here tonight. The more frustrated that Inter got, the more Bodo Glimt felt that they could go and score a second, which they did, and maybe even a third or a fourth. So it's maybe something that's just gone all the way through Norwegian football at the moment, how they're approaching a lot of these big games, where they're very well organised, where they've got a lot of confidence in their own ability. They know they've not got the star quality of some of these other countries and some of these club teams, but they've got a very clear thought process of how they want to go about it. And how they've gone about it against the bigger teams has been really, really good. Well organised, good football when they get the ball, good counter-attacking, and they always work their socks off. They're always working as a team, and they've seen that in this competition. That being said, we can blow smoke up their backside all we want. Bodo Glimt will still be the team that people want in the last 16.
Yeah.
Because people are still saying, this can't continue, and all the big guys will be hoping they'll be getting this Norwegian team, because they are going to be probably still one of the weaker teams on paper, if not the weakest, come the last 16. But I would believe they're not frightened of playing most of the sides that are going to be in the competition.
No, and you mentioned, of course, what happens in the next round. We know already, don't we? It's either going to be Sporting or it's going to be Manchester City. The draw to be made, of course, when this round is complete. Can I ask a stupid question, Stevie?
Go on.
Which would you prefer if you're Bodo Glimt?
I think you prefer Sporting.
You prefer Sporting?
Yeah. Yeah, you ain't going to... I'm saying this, but...
The reason I ask that is you've already beaten Manchester City.
But you're not going to... You don't want Man City. Man City know you inside out now.
OK.
So are they really going to surprise Man City, particularly the way they did in the first leg? And that seems incredibly a long shot to me. Manchester City are not going to turn up if they get Bodo Glimt in Norway and produce what they did. They absolutely will not. So if I'm Bodo Glimt, I want Sporting.
Yeah. You agree?
I think probably, but there are some glaring areas in this City side, particularly at the back and in the full-back positions, that I think you can get. I think the problem with the City game, they've only played them in Norway, right? Mm-hmm. Now, as the two-legged affair would be, if, depending on where the first leg was, if it was at the Etihad, if they could get through that relatively unscathed, I really think they'd fancy their chances back in Norway against this City side. That being said, there's no doubt Sporting are the weaker of the two teams.
Yeah.
But City are not, it's not exact, you wouldn't be quaking in your boots at getting them. The big worry would be the away game. The away game. You cannot get destroyed. And City, of course, for all their issues at the back and with centre-halves and full-backs, they could put 4 or 5 on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that would be the concern if you got City from Bodo Glimt's point of view, depending on obviously where the first leg was. But yeah, I think Sporting, but they wouldn't be frightened of City, I wouldn't imagine.
Jurgen, what do you think?
Well, I think definitely, no matter who they play, nobody will underestimate Bodo Glimt anymore. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't matter if you're Manchester City or Sporting, you now take Bodo Glimt so serious because they have proven it now over 2 or 3 years. Very, very good team, that they are competitive, that they can handle big names. So now going forward, Bodo Glimt is absolutely no surprise anymore. No, they're to be taken seriously by everyone, and so is Norway. You know, and I look at their progression over the last 10, 12 years, a little bit like, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, so more and more Croatia came into the picture, obviously after the Yugoslavian war and the split of all the Yugoslavian nations. Then Croatia came out with the most talent, with the most determination to break through on the world stage. And look where they are now. They're among the top 4 in the world when they go to a World Cup or European Championship. And I see Norway is on the rise. Norway is to be taken very, very seriously going forward. I mean, when we watch, obviously, have another Champions League game with Atletico Madrid, beating Brugge 4-1, 3 goals, saw a lot. Norwegian. You know, so I mean, it's not only a few individual players that make the difference for these Norwegian teams. It's a whole. It's teams. It's teams. So they've done a lot of good things over the last years. You know what they've done exactly, I don't know. It would be needed to ask them a bit deeper. But they are no surprise anymore. And if I was now, obviously Manchester City or Sporting, I mean, I go in there and I know I got to give everything I have to beat Bodo Glimt.
But was it this? I might be wrong. Producer knows because it was Tottenham. Was it semi-final of Europa League or quarter-final last year?
Yes, it was a semi-final. Yeah.
Semi-final of Europa League. Okay, it's clearly not as strong, and they lost. So it's been a bit of an upward curve for them. But this has taken it to another level. Getting into this stage of the Champions League. But you throw a bunch of these players in with Sorloth and Haaland, and Strand Larsen's just moved for 45 million. That was a bit of a head scratcher. But you can chuck him in as well before you get to Odegaard and Norgard and everybody else. They are producing some good teams, and they're producing some really good players at the moment.
For a lot more on what we see in the Champions League, just a reminder, the Gab and Jules podcast will drop on Thursday as the boys will be reflecting what we've seen across the board this week, plus looking ahead to Chelsea against Arsenal in the Premier League this weekend. We're on Atletico Madrid 4, Club Brugge 1 then is how it finishes as Atleti advance to the next round. They will face either Spurs or Liverpool. Let's first reflect on what we saw in this tie. Frank and Jurgen are still with us. Jurgen, big strikers still exist in this world.
Yes, they do, yeah, and they know how to score. No, it was fun to watch, obviously, having Solid there scoring 3 goals, in a typical number 9 way of doing it. Overall, I mean, the game was entertaining. First half was even. Club Brugge was in the game, but then the second goal killed it off. And the second goal came by Johnny Cardoso, and it's an American kid. And this is pretty cool. I think his story is remarkable. Obviously coming from Real Betis and then breaking into the Atletico side, which is a very difficult side to break in for a foreign player. And he did that, and he had a very good game, not only because of his goal, because of the way he played. He was fearless. He was going into 1-against-1 battles and threw himself in there. And I was really very, very pleased with his performance, which is obviously a good thing for the US national team.
Yeah, most definitely. Good for Atleti as well if they get him back into full fettle. Meanwhile, Frank, someone like Sorloth is someone you battled with a lot, isn't it, in your playing days?
Yes. It's somebody you try to look for because you know that the power is there, that he has the feeling. Today, he was feeling the game, he was feeling the crosses, and he was every time in a very good situation. And the second goal that he scores, and the guy was mentioning it, he had the time, but he took the time. He knew exactly what to do. His control was perfect, and the positioning of his body was perfect, and he knew where to put the ball in. He was very impressive. But I'm more impressed by the save of Oblak, for me, would change the game. Because Brugge would have scored that goal just before the first half, I think it would have been another game. And Oblak is still, for me, one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, it was a save, wasn't it? That kind of changed how the game went. Do you want a word on Antoine Griezmann's hair? Anybody? As a man who, of course, dyed his hair back in the day. And is accused of dyeing it quite a lot now, it must be said.
Sorry?
A lot of people suggest that you dye your hair now. Would you ever go for this colour?
Well, I'm a dyeing it grey. I think he's had a few daft haircuts.
Yeah.
And hair. Why are you looking at me? I think he's a little past this now, or should be.
It's generally older females around 65 to 70 years old.
Like the purple
dye
rinse.
their hair purple rinse.
Yes.
I mean, I went through this.
Let's be honest.
I must admit, I've got an excuse. When I stupidly dyed my hair at the World Cup in '98, I was in my mid-20s, and I hadn't quite matured.
Really?
When's that going to happen?
When's that happening, Burley?
When's that going to appear?
Anyway.
When did you mature? When did you mature? Last year?
Frank, yeah. So what that means, away from haircuts and purple rinses, what that means for Atleti, they're going to face a Premier League side in the next round. That Premier League side will either be Liverpool or Spurs. Which one? Oh my God. Is it, if you're Spurs, and we're having serious conversations now, obviously, about relegation, are we going to get to a stage where they're just going to have to put out second-string sides in the Champions League because they've got to focus so much on survival?
No, I think the only way out is you try to field your strongest team in every single game you're going to play until the end of the season. I hope that's going to be the approach by Tottenham. If your best 11 you can field, you got to throw them in and get points in the Premier League and get positive results in the Champions League. Obviously, this would be a very, very tough one to play, but that's Champions League. There's no other way to do it. But I would definitely go all the time with the strongest team possible.
Who are favourites?
Just something.
It's a voice. The
Sorry,
French voice from
just
above.
something. It's coming from nowhere. No, because we are picking some. But history is talking right now because the Liverpool Spurs were the final of the Champions League some years ago, and where was
Me and
the
Stevie were
game
there.
held? And Metropolitan, and we were there, and so it's maybe a sign for Atletico to do something special about those two teams. And I guess, it's better to play
You
Spurs.
interrupted my link for that.
Do you know what? Can I just...
Because nothing is important in life. Only signs are important. Feelings.
Can I correct myself and say, when I said Bodo Glimt are the team to play?
Yeah, Spurs,
I
mate.
forgot about Spurs.
Yeah. If it's Liverpool, who are the favourites?
Well, I think Liverpool have beaten them already this.
Atletico Madrid?
I think so. Might be wrong. Well, that's a difficult one, I tell you, because I tell you why. Liverpool are, listen, they've not been good. And Atleti on the day this season have been better than Liverpool. Think about the Barca game, a couple of Barca games, the Madrid derby. But they've had so many peaks and troughs. I think they play Oviedo at the weekend. They could lose.
That's it, isn't it?
That is it.
Yeah.
And they go from the sublime to the ridiculous. That's how the pendulum swings too much for them. And that's why they are, almost a dozen points off the La Liga title race, and they're not even actually in the race. I think at this moment in time, I would have to say a fully fit Atleti side, if they got Barrios and a few others back, and Sorloth continues this sort of form, and Julian Alvarez picks up again, and you've got... I'd have to say, watching Liverpool recently, that Atleti, for me, would be the favourites.
Right.
If you'd asked me last year, it would have been the complete opposite. But I just don't trust... I don't really trust Atleti because we watch La Liga every weekend, and we see the topsy-turvy results. But Liverpool, for the most part this year, have been terrible.
Yeah, it was 3-2 at Anfield when they met in the Champions League, Stevie. Craig's just going Atleti. I'm
trying hard to find a way to be really positive and say that it's Liverpool. Liverpool in Europe have been way better than they have been in the Premier League, but I don't think the opposition's always been the hardest. I think I would have to just go on the side of Atletico Madrid.
Would you as well, Stevie?
I think so.
Wow, Liverpool echo.
Yeah.
I'm going to ring them now.
Liverpool legend dismisses the chances.
Well, right now, Liverpool have got they've got no bench. We were talking at the weekend about how we couldn't change the midfield, as bad as it was, because there was nobody on the bench that played in midfield. In fact, you had one of your better midfielders playing right back. Atleti have got lots of choices. Yes, they've been up and down. But overall, it's very difficult not to go with Atletico Madrid.
Frank, who are you going for? What does it say in the stars? What's written wherever you're looking?
The signs told me that I have to go for Liverpool. Now, come on. Liverpool have been better in the Champions League than Atletico Madrid, and they proved it every game they play in the Champions League. It's a different competition comparing to the Premier League. I want to believe that they're going to get their spirits and the spirit that they have every time they play the Champions League game. And from what I saw today from Atletico, it's possible and doable for Liverpool to go through.
Last word on this to you, Jürgen.
No, it's 50-50. It's
You can't say
knockout
50-50,
stage.
Jurgen. You've got to pick one.
Absolutely, it's 50-50. Yeah. It will be 50-50.
Newcastle advance to the next round. Obviously, we knew that was going to happen pretty much from the kickoff, given what occurred in the first leg. We're thinking, well, what can we discuss from this game? Once again, Craig, we see Voltemade not playing as a striker.
He's utilising...
And I know it's only Qarabag, but this isn't the first time. He did it against Villa and he did it against City as well.
Yeah, he's got this thing in his head at the moment that he's going to play Voltemade a little deeper. I don't know. Sounds a bit strange to me. I mean, he's got good feet for a big guy. To be fair, to come short and get turned. He's actually got.
Not good enough.
No, but
Not good enough.
So what's he doing, Steve?
I don't know what
I
the
have
reason
no
is.
idea what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know. He's probably played every single time they've played away from home, right? Generally, when they're at home, he's played up high, but definitely away from home, he's been playing in this role, and he's not good enough to play there.
Do you know why he's
He
playing
doesn't
there?
move the ball. He doesn't move the ball quick enough.
Do you know one
he
of the
doesn't see things early enough. He's not good enough to play there. I'm sorry.
I agree, but it's not his fault. He's a striker, and actually he's had a pretty good start to his Newcastle career as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he came in and he won a few fans over, scored a few goals, and yeah, he scored the own goal in the North East Derby. But these things happen. But I think one of the things that Eddie Howe has in his head, and he didn't play tonight, is that, and Stevie mentioned particularly the away games, is that he seems to like Anthony Gordon's pace through the middle. And he's a wide player, but he's played him through the middle because he likes his pace to run in behind the defence and the centre-halves. And that means you either leave Voltemade out or you play him a little bit deeper. And that's what he's done. And I think that's detrimental to the German. But I think ultimately that's what Eddie Howe has in his mind at the moment, is that, you know, when he's going to these away games and teams are putting Newcastle under pressure, particularly in the Champions League, he's gone for a pacey player up front so they have an out ball in behind, which Voltemade's not. You know, he's a guy that you can play the ball up to and hold. So they've brought a player in to replace Alexander Isak. It's not a like for like, but they brought a striker for a striker, and now he's decided in some of the games he's going to go a different way with a different player. And that is one of the reasons I think that Voltemade has ended up dropping a little bit deeper.
Jurgen, do you see Eddie Howe's thinking here, or do you agree with Stevie, this is not his place to be?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is it's not his place to be for Voltemade. I see him clearly as a pure number 9, traditional number 9, you know, holding up the place, as Greg says, and the ball, and then play with everybody else around him. He's trying this out right now, Eddie Howe, and the kid will not complain. He will do whatever the coach tells him to do, but it's not ideal for him because obviously his big dream is going to the World Cup this summer for Germany. He started really well with Newcastle. He got a lot of positive comments from everywhere. And so I hope, you know, it kind of doesn't put him down in some way. I see here maybe they approach a little bit with him dropping back into midfield to help out in a 4-5-1 formation. So he helps out his midfield as an additional player. But obviously his qualities are up front. His qualities are in the box. You know, he smells the ball. He knows where it comes. He's strong in the air. Obviously, he's a very, very tall kid. And that's where his qualities are. So it needs to be seen now the next couple of weeks how he utilizes him.
So, who will Newcastle face in the next round? Let's just remind you who they could possibly take on. It will be Barcelona or Chelsea, depending on the luck of the draw.
I think they'd take Chelsea all day, wouldn't they?
Is Chelsea kind of better the devil you know, Frank?
Yeah, but you don't want to play against a domestic team in the Champions League. I hated that, and I never liked watching that, like Monaco against Paris Saint-Germain. You want to see something, you know, different. It's what I want to see Newcastle against Barcelona. And that's my wish. It didn't work that well. I think it was last year, for Newcastle. But yeah, I don't want to see Chelsea playing against Newcastle. It's too much Premier League. We know that. We've seen that. We don't want to see that in Champions League.
No, they played this year. It's this year, Frank.
Yeah.
They played at St James's
This
Park.
year, exactly.
Yeah, they played
this year.
So they played at St James's Park, and Newcastle made a really good fist of it. I think, if memory serves me right, for 45 minutes. A lot of energy, a lot of pressing, and then and both those players haven't been fit recently, but Pedri and De Jong took the game by the scruff of the neck, and then Barcelona dominated. And that's the sort of position that they're in. Chelsea, they know. Okay, that's Chelsea are a stronger side. But then, even though Chelsea have beaten Barcelona this year at the Bridge, we know if Barcelona get the defensive aspect of their crazy high line right, which sometimes they do, and a lot of times they don't, the other side of their game could end up being like a Qarabag.
Yeah.
You know, could be 4 or 5 or 6 after the first leg. That's how good they can be going forward. I just feel if they played Chelsea, I think they could keep it a little tighter. They don't have to worry about Ferran Torres, don't have to worry about Lamine Yamal, don't have to worry about Rafinha, Fermin Lopez, Dani Olmo. All these players that could just destroy you. They've seen that movie before at St James's Park. And when Barcelona upped the gears in that game, it was just a little bit too much for Newcastle.
Another stupid question.
Yep.
If it's not a player your dream to go and play at stadiums like the Camp Nou, and this could be your one chance, so as a player, are you still rooting for the quote-unquote easier side in Chelsea?
100%.
They should. You could play at the Camp Nou, Stevie.
No. It's fun to dream and you think about it and you'd love to win it. The Camp Nou and beating Barcelona. But at the end of the day, you want to win.
Right.
And you'd rather play against a side that you think you can beat, as opposed to a side you're not quite sure, but you also know you could get blasted out of the water. So, no, I'm with Craig entirely. I'm taking Chelsea.
And the Camp Nou is not finished, so what's the point? You know,
Well, there's only one bit of the stadium's not there. All right, Frank.
Well, I'm hearing
Frankie, what he did, exactly what he does. Well done, sir.
I'm hearing Chelsea fans
like
shouting, though, you know. We beat them 3-0.
Yes.
Oh, what do you mean Barca's an easier game? But that was a really good night from Chelsea.
Yeah, it was one of Barca's rotters, which we know they can serve up as well.
Don't take one game as a big...
Jurgen, what about the dream of the Camp Nou?
He's not finished.
It's the only one where you want to go. You got to go to the Camp Nou and beat them there.
Yes.
You know, this is what football is all about.
Yes.
You wanna,
God.
Yeah,
you
from
wanna go
a
there,
World Cup
you
winner
wanna
that
go
contributed
there
throughout the tournament. Thank you very much, Jurgen.
And you're with your back to the wall and you beat them.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. One more game to reflect on. Nothing happened. Bayer Leverkusen taking on Olympiacos. Bayer Leverkusen.
What did happen in that game? I think we switched the telly off.
Nothing. That sums it up. Both had a shot on target, and no expected goals both below 1. Of course, it's Bayer Leverkusen who then advance to the next round. Well, they'll face either Jurgen, Arsenal, or Bayern Munich.
Wow.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I mean, if you're Leverkusen, you want Arsenal, then
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, you would want Arsenal?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to have Arsenal there. Yeah, if I'm Leverkusen.
Why?
I mean, you know Bayern Munich inside out, and there's no surprise to anything, but you can make a big surprise, a big splash, obviously, by beating Arsenal, you know, who's the #1 team in the Champions League so far. So I would definitely want Arsenal.
Frank, what do you want?
Again, for the same reason that before, I don't want to see the Bundesliga game, so I prefer to play against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because I know Bayern Munich, in terms of stadium, because you like, stadiums, I don't know which one is the best. But I think, you want to confront the best, well, not the best team, but the most interesting team, and you want to play a Champions League game. So you want to go to the Emirates and play Arsenal.
Doesn't matter. They're screwed whatever team they get. Well, let's not beat about the bush. They're screwed.
Yeah, no, I think that is fair enough. Of course, it is a big weekend in the Bundesliga as we see the classic Bayern taking on Borussia Dortmund. That game is at 11:30 on ESPN+. You can watch that in your home, or if you're on the West Coast, you can make your way to Tom's Watch Bar and join Jurgen, Ali and Kay, who will be hosting Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. Just click on the QR code, that'll give you information how to register. That coverage starts at 9:30 on ESPN+. Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN Extra Time. Craig is here, Steve is one of those. Yeah, press
Adrian.
Extra Time, Real Madrid TV.
We told him the surprise
Where
yet?
are we going? His surprise?
Yeah.
What's his surprise?
He's he's gone to the Classica watch party.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just put a GoPro on your head, getting through, going from there to
Can
there.
you imagine?
You go.
Where is he? We're on air. He's at the bar.
I think
he's
that'd be very
stalking the
good.
bar.
That'd be very good.
People talking German too.
Sorry, you sent me a picture of you ploughing snow this morning because you're. But he's done it as a voiceover, so there's no swear words? Okay, here it is.
So here we are, me and Eleanor, 6 o'clock in the morning, doing this. It's never turned up to plough it, so we're screwed. So we've got to do it ourselves. Fantastic, great fun. Just what I wanted to do at this time of morning.
I've got a question for you.
Stevie.
Did you think you were going to like wake the neighbours up if you didn't whisper?
That's true.
Here we are in the wild.
Here we are.
I guess it's a natural thing you do when you're in the dark. You talk quiet.
Yeah.
I think the wildebeest has heard us.
Sneaking in. So the ploughman didn't turn up.
Never turned up.
So why did you have to get up at 6 a.m. to play it? Why couldn't you do it later today?
Well, because Eleanor couldn't sleep because she was sat up looking out the window most of the night waiting for the guy coming.
Right.
And so she decided to, because she wasn't going to sleep, to
Yes.
go out.
Sitting at the window.
So I woke up about 4:30, 4:45 and looked out the window and I could see her starting to do the thing.
Oh,
starting to do it on her own. I was like,
Oh, leave her.
well, I wouldn't say it never crossed my mind. I'm like, I can't.
Oh, bless you, Steve.
So I got out, so we ended up. So we were out there from about 5:30 onwards.
Wow. How long did it take?
I want to say 20 past 8, quarter past 8.
Good 3 hours.
Aye.
Oh,
Honestly,
you just
raging.
I bet you were. You hate
Raging.
it.
Did you go back to?
Yes.
Did you go back to bed after that? Or?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
that's
actually, no. I took the dog. As soon as we finished that, I took the dog, came back, and then I went to bed.
Oh, there you go. Did you spend the whole day in bed yesterday?
I did, yeah.
Because you were snowed in?
Well, snowed down, nothing else to do, so I just sat in bed.
Well, get up.
The chocolate digestives took a bit of a pounding.
Get up. Most people get up.
Stevie, who do you want? Atletico Madrid or Galatasaray? There you go.
Galatasaray.
Galatasaray, yeah.
Absolutely,
We were
yeah.
talking about Atleti, slight favourites in Craig and Stevie's eyes, going into the next round. Frank, with PSG's reign as Champions League holders and Italian football's downfall, is Ligue 1 now a better league than Serie A?
Well, because you have Paris Saint-Germain, I would think so, because Inter are ahead by 10 points of the Serie A, and we see the disaster that they show in the Champions League. At least in Ligue 1, Liga, you have Paris Saint-Germain, but the others, they're like in Italy. So I would say, I would put the two leagues at the same level. You have the Premier League, the Liga, the Bundesliga, and then you have the Liga and the Serie A at the same level for me. Because except Paris Saint-Germain in France, there are no teams who can be able to do something in the Champions League as well.
Craig, who do you want to see promoted into the Premier League from the Championship? At the moment, Coventry and Middlesbrough are big favourites. Coventry 2 clear of Middlesbrough, then 6 clear of Ipswich in third.
Yes.
The big story, of course, which continues to develop is Wrexham, who won again today. They are now 6th, of course, which is a playoff spot, 4 points clear of Southampton. Also in the running, Ipswich, Hull and Millwall.
Well, I'm not going to play them. Well, I'd like to see, because they were a staple when Stevie and I were playing, I'd like to see Coventry go back up, because I think Lampard's done a great job there.
Right.
They started to flounder a little bit, but they've still got a game in hand, and they could go, I think, almost 10 points clear of Ipswich. And I would like to see Middlesbrough. I mean, I'm not fussed, but Ipswich have been up recently. I'd like to see Middlesbrough go back up and have another bash.
Okay.
They're a team that was in the Premier League, and then from the playoffs, was it Millwall?
Millwall, Wrexham, Hull and Ipswich.
I suppose Wrexham would be the story, but
It would be very much the story, wouldn't it? Over here it would be, definitely.
yeah, definitely over here.
Yeah.
I've got no
Stevie, do you have...
dog in the fight.
Well, I guess the.
What are you chuckling?
I'm chuckling because I've got Millwall in my head,
Okay.
thinking of what Millwall used to be.
Yes.
It used to be the worst place to go. I mean, the fans were
Yeah.
I mean, you were pretty much caged in, so that the fans couldn't get over the fence to get at you, because that was the atmosphere at Millwall. It was just aggressive. From the minute you got there to the minute the bus pulled out, there was always somebody in your face, somebody in your ear, calling you names and shouting at you and screaming at you. But I guess
It's like Craig
I've got
at
to
home.
assume that's not like that anymore.
Well, have you played it in New Den?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a slightly
It's kind
better
of
version.
it's watered down, right?
But you know the one.
So would you like them to come up? That's up.
No, because I think if Millwall and Hull somehow got up through the playoffs, they absolutely would be straight down.
Right, it's just one player, one
So
team.
would Wrexham. So would Wrexham.
Yeah, whichever one.
Right.
They come straight down, so
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm going with Nibs here, with the Middlesbroughs and Coventry's in that, because they maybe would have a chance of staying up.
Yeah.
That's why.
As good as this story's been for Wrexham, if you follow all the, what's the name of that programme?
This is Wrexham.
This is Wrexham.
Welcome to Wrexham.
Welcome to Wrexham. If you follow all that, and then the owners and how they've come up the division every year,
Yeah, back to back to back to back.
and this will be unprecedented. It reminds me a little bit of when my uncle was manager at Ipswich, when he said, "We're not ready to go up."
Right.
They got to the playoffs 3 or 4 times and they lost, and he said, "We weren't ready." Took them 3 or 4 years of going to playoffs.
Because that's the biggest jump, yeah, from the Championship to the Premier League than any other jump.
Huge. And to be doing it that quick, going from non-league to League 2 to League 1 to the Championship and then straight up to the Premier League, I don't think you can build a strong enough, although they're doing great under Phil Parkinson, that next jump is huge, absolutely huge, and I don't think they can get to that standard. I think that could be detrimental to them, actually.
Right.
I think they would go up to the Premier League and just take
Too much too soon.
I think they would just take an absolute pounding.
What were you smiling at? You want to add something?
No, I can't remember.
Frank, do you have any input into this?
I would love to see Coventry. I mean, I have good souvenirs with Coventry and bad ones, and Coventry was a very hard team to play against. So I want to see Coventry going there. Middlesbrough, but only for Kay,
Nice.
because I have very good souvenir with Middlesbrough, but I know Kay loves this club, and so I want to see Middlesbrough back. Because of our regretted Dan, is that Mariner? Paul? Sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul Mariner, I want to see Ipswich back again, because Ipswich was Paul Mariner's club for me.
Frank, Thierry Henry swapped shirts with Brazilian Ronaldo after the 1998 World Cup final. So who did you swap shirts with?
Nobody, and I still have my 2 shirts, because we have 2 shirts, one for the first half and the second half, and I didn't want to share it with anybody because I wanted to keep the 2 of them, and I gave one to my father and kept one, and so I didn't even think about swapping my shirt with anybody. So no, I didn't do it.
Did anybody ever get to the bottom of that? I'm sure they did. I saw a clip about it the other day, actually. It was the BBC, John Motson. When the team sheet came in, remember?
Yeah, of course.
Frank, what was the story? Ronaldo, when the team sheet came in, Ronaldo wasn't playing, and then it changed.
No. Well, no, it wasn't a question mark about him being involved in the first 11, because they say in the morning he went to the hospital because he had a problem, and I think he was playing PlayStation too much, and he had a, how do you call that, problem with his eyes, with the screen, and but he was okay, but he never been concerned for us, but we knew that he would be playing. We knew like 2 hours before that he would be playing.
But the team sheet came out and he wasn't on it.
There's a lot of...
Epilepsy.
There's got
Sorry,
theories. You speak to my wife, she's got a lot of theories on this.
He had an epileptic fit.
He had epileptic syndromes. That's what he had.
He didn't have it when he played us.
That's what he
I can tell you that.
Craig, Frank, what were your first impressions of Craig when he first arrived at Chelsea?
Who first arrived?
Or when Frank arrived at Chelsea, what was the impressions of you?
Oh, he hated Scottish people.
No. We have a certain bond with Scottish people and French people because of our history. So the thing is that when I first came,
Orlando didn't do history.
Bonnie
School.
Prince
Queen,
Charlie?
maybe a queen. I
think
don't
Bonnie
know.
Prince Charlie was
whatever,
French, wasn't he?
whatever. And the thing is, when I first came, I talked. Come on, he didn't. Yeah, I talked to Dennis Wise, and John Spencer and Craig Burley, and I
Steve
came
Clark.
back to Steve Clark, and I came back to our physio, Terry Byrne, and I say, where they come from? You know, they don't speak English. I don't understand a word of what they are saying. And he explained to me, and that was insane. I couldn't understand a word of English coming from those four guys.
Yeah.
And Terry Byrne had to translate to me in a proper English way. But it's how you learn English. That's what it is.
Could have been worse. Think about Dimitri
But
Karim
in
when he
terms of
first arrived.
player, in terms of player, I really. I was really fond of Craig.
No.
Craig was a fighter, but also technically, he was a very good player and was very clever. So I always liked the way he was playing.
Moving on. So when Dimitri Karim first signed, he was the Russian #1. He's a lovely. He still lives in England now. He hasn't gone back, but he could not speak a word, and there was nobody else around. We're not a big Russian community or anything. And at that point, so he came with his wife, and I think he had one kid, Igor, obviously. And inflation,
Igor Tudor.
inflation in Russia at the time was horrendous, right? Out of control. And apparently, he went in the supermarket the first week or so after he found a place to live, and they had a bunch of groceries in the shopping trolley. He went up to the checkout, couldn't, no English, nothing. And he had about 30,000 on him, right? And he went to the cashier, he went,
Rubles.
30,000.
he had thousands of pounds on him, and he went, is that enough?
Wow. And she went, no.
Because he only had two tins of beans
Wow.
and a cauliflower, because he had no clue.
Right.
Things in Russia were just so expensive. Get a loaf of bread and milk and all that. And when he came in, I just thought to myself, how difficult is that? I mean, coming from France and Spain is one thing, but walking in and there's just nobody else, no luck. Still there to this day, the lad.
That's it. That's it. Does that bring us to the end of today's show? I believe it does. ESPN FC returns.
Can't wait till tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Benfica against Real Madrid, of course, in the Champions League. What other games are they?
Don't know, bed for me.
Oh, dear.